we're going to discuss another data structure type. We have already discussed what a vector is, which is a it's a data structure which contains same elements, same data types. Data class can be all numerical, can be all logical. On the other hand, a list may be a combination of several data types. A list can be a vector of numerics, can also contain a list. So a list can contain a list and vectors. So that's what a list is, which we discussed last time. Now, the third structure type is a data frame, which is a table or two-dimensional array. Most of the data look like this. No? So you have observations in the rows, and then you have variables as columns. In order for it to be considered as a data frame, number one, the column name should be non-empty. Ibig sabihin yung variable name, now we're looking at a data where you have the population, of countries, the GDP, the GNP. Each of the variables there, each of the columns should have a name. The row name should be unique. Ibig sabihin, walang repetition ng, kunyari, we're surveying a person. Kunyari si person number 10, we surveyed that person. Tapos dapat si person number 10, hindi na ulit mag-a-appear dun sa data frame natin. Kasi pareho lang yun, ano? So there should be, the row name should be unique. If your row names are the IDs of the responses, so dapat unique yung mga IDs nila. And then the data can be numeric, factor, or character type. Pwede parang list siya. Each column should contain the same number of data items. What does that mean? Kunyari, the column, say GDP, contains 50 elements. Dapat yung population din na variable should also contain 50 elements, 50 rows. Hindi siya pwedeng 60 yung isa naman 50. Okay, so let's take a look at a simple example. Here we're creating three objects. NSB, N is a vector of, is a numeric vector, S is a character vector, and B is a logical vector. Now, how do we create a data frame out of this? Here, I'm creating an object called df, okay, and then this df, we use the function data.frame, okay, data.frame, and then combine n, s, and b. If we run this chunk, run this code chunk, you will see that it prints your n, a vector of numbers, a vector of characters for s, and then a vector of logical values for b. And then you can see here below the data frame itself, okay, df. Here you have three columns, n, s, b, and then you have three rows. So that's a data frame. Okay, then we go to another example, example 2 of a data frame. Okay, I think guys, you should modify our example a bit so that we have the same output. So let's set that seed. Now we're creating an object called emp.data employee data. And then again, we're using this data frame function, data.frame. The first variable in the data frame is emp ID. Okay. Now originally this was just run if, no? Run if lang siya. Kaso guys, if you recall, pag run if, let me do that, run if, let's say 10 lang, 10. From 1,000 up to 999. If you're going to run this 1,000 to 999, you'll generate. Oops. You'll generate. Okay. You'll generate a vector of 10 numeric ton. Run natin to. Okay. So may decimal place kasi yun ang run if. Here we're contemplating on using an ID. So. Unless you've heard of one, I don't see any, I haven't seen any company that use an ID with a decimal place. No? So dito, pwede na lang natin tanggalin yung pwede natin tanggalin yung decimal by using the round function. So kindly just adjust your code, guys. Yung round, Okay, so ilan ko to, no? Para makakita nyo. Control C, Control V. Si round, may syntax yan. Okay. First is the kung ano yung number. Okay, tapos, comma, we have to put kung ilang digits. So since this is ID and ayaw natin lagyan ng ano ng decimal place, we can put 0. And if we run this sa console, okay, tingnan nyo guys, no? Yung run if siya, which is supposed to generate decimal figures, pero renowned natin siya to drop the decimal places. Okay? So ito na yung random IDs nila. Okay, so let's incorporate that here para yung IDs nila do not contain decimals. So this is the first vector, employee ID. Okay, and it's supposed to be 10 numbers, and it's either from 1,000 to 999, no decimal place. The next column to be part of our employee data frame is employee name. So these are just character variables, yung pangalan ng employees, Rick, Dan, etc. And then comma, we have this vector salary. It consists of, we're concatenating this, a basic salary, malamang monthly salary to. So all in all, this should be 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 din siya. Kasi we're constructing a data frame of 10 rows. So yung name, 10. Yung ID, 10. Yung salary, 10. Start date, how about this? Now, without this, yung start date na to, if this is just C, then this will be characters. Mga characters to. We have the year, and then the month, and then the day. Now, if we want to treat it as a date, remember that date is also an object, a type of data, class of data in R. We can make use of the function as.date. Okay? And then, nare-recognize ano to? Mare-recognize ni R, tapos gagawin niyang date yan. Okay, yung as.date. And then strings as factors. Now, let me explain first what a factor is. So dito, mag-generate muna tayo guys. Let's create an object called Z dito. Ito nalalagay sa console. Z, and Z contains, let's say, objects, let's say, male, kunyari yung gender. No? Okay, let's have 5 responses. Another male, kunyari nag-survey tayo. Tapos female, tapos another female, tapos another female. Kunyari, 5 na lang. Okay, we're creating this object Z. And then, para isang labas na lang, there's this, saan ko? Wala. Okay, and then class. Okay, what am I doing here, guys? I'm creating an object called Z. It's a character vector MMFFF. And then let's check the class. Enter. Yeah. So this is our object. No? You have MMFFF, and it's a vector of character. Okay. Now, yung elements ito, yung vector na to guys, yung male, female, it can be used as a classifier. Okay? Later on, pag nag-regression tayo, we will see that this is very important, especially, for example, when we're looking at wages of a person. Is there a difference between the average wage of a male and a female, given, for example, the same academic achievements, the same age, okay? Pero may difference ba? Okay, and we can only do that when we treat this gender na character, not a gender na character to vector, not as character, but rather as a factor. So here I'm creating an object called Z1. Okay, natin Z1. Okay, and then alt minus, and then as that factor. Ayan. Z. Semicolon, and then plus. Okay, what am I doing here, guys? I'm creating another object, Z1, but Z1 is, it's connected to Z, however, we're converting it into a factor as that factor Z. And then let's see what the class of Z is. Okay, there. Take note guys, nung nawala na yung, nawala na yung quotes. Ibig sabihin, hindi na siya character. And then levels, FM. Okay? FM. Ibig sabihin, guys, ito yung different types of factors dito. And it's a factor. Okay, hindi na siya character. Again, may special place yung factor, guys, because that can be used to analyze your data. For example, to see the difference. Sa plotting din, kunyari, later next week, mag-GG. Hindi, mag-regression pala tayo. Sorry. I was looking at the other section, not other class. So next week, regression na tayo. No? So magagamit natin yan. Makikita natin, if we plot, for example, the data, you can plot by distinguishing between the gender, the male and the female, para makita natin kung may difference sila. And that can only be done, guys, kung yung kung yung character natin is a factor. Of course, not all characters can be considered as a factor. Kunyari ito, mga employee name. Character nga yan, guys, pero do you think we should categorize them by names? Kunyari, lahat ng Rick, lahat ng Michelle. Unless, guys, you're looking at attributes of that pertain to a name. So lahat ba ng Rick masisipag? Lahat ba ng Rick matamad? Ganun. Siguro kung ganun, no? If that's the object of our study, if that's the subject of our study, then maybe perhaps we can treat those names as factors. But in this case, we're just looking at employee data, so no need to convert this as factors. No? So remember, guys, yung factors, yung mga character data yan. And then we can put here strings as factors. Ibig sabihin ng strings yung character. Isa lang naman yung character natin dito eh. Lahat numerical na at saka yung isa date. No? Strings as factors is equal to false. Ibig sabihin, we're not going to treat the character variable, in this case, isa lang naman siya, as factor. Okay. Other variables, can you give me, guys, examples of, let's say, character data type which can be considered as factors? Example, please. From the class, paki-type or paki-unmute. Anyone, please? Example ng data type that can be considered as a factor. See? Yeah, okay, year level. So you have year level, kunyari, you're surveying students. So yung iba, frost, sophomore, junior, senior, that can be used as a classifier. Therefore, yung variable na yan, pwede natin convert into a factor. Thank you, Justin. That's correct. Very good. Any other example, guys? Para aware tayo na may mga character variables na pwedeng gawing pwedeng gawing factors. Anyone else, guys? Dami example niyan. Some more examples, please. Hello. Isip nga, guys, an example na pwede natin gawing factor. Region, pwede. Just yung male-female, di ba na-discuss natin. Region, kunyari, we're looking at several countries, globe, around the world. So pwede siya i-classify as Asia, Europe, South America, North America, Australia, and Oceania, etc. Africa. Okay, pwede yun. Thank you, Richmond. That's correct. In region. Or sa Philippines, kunyari, we're doing a survey, Filipinos. Anong main island group sila galing? Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. Pwede rin yun. That can be considered as factors. Okay, and there are several examples. Marami pang pwede tayong gawin example. Kunyari, yung status. Single, married, divorced, separated. Pwede rin yan. Pwedeng factors. Okay? I think you understand what I mean. No? And variables like that is best considered not as a character, but rather factors. Okay. So let's run this. Let's run this code chunk. Okay. So what do we see now? Ito na, no? Employee ID. Natanggal na yung, di ba? Natanggal na yung decimal place. Employee name, salary, and start date. So this is now your data frame. And if you look at the data frame, guys, it's under sa environment natin. Wala siya sa values, no? Okay, yung mga data frames and lists, dito siya under sa data. Okay? Dito siya under sa data. Okay, and then yung mga vectors dito siya under sa values. Okay, now if we ask for the class of emp.data, anong class yung object na yan? It's a data frame. So yung class emp.data as an object, it's a data frame. Okay, in fact, we can do the structure function, structure of emp.data, structure. Yeah. So it tells us that this is a data frame. Okay, 10 observations for variables. Ito $emp_id, ibig sabihin nito, this is the variable emp_id. It's numerical. Emp name is character, salary is numerical, and start date is equal to date. So dito sa structure, guys, makikita natin what class of data is your variable. You can do this also class, and then the object is emp.data, di ba? And then dollar, example dollar, and then let's see, start date. When you type dollar, guys, you'll see that it automatically identifies the different variables in your emp.data. So if I click start date, anong class ba niyan? Alam natin na date yan, as shown in this structure. Diba? Start date, it's a date class. Okay, you can do the same for the others, and it will indicate for employee ID, it's numeric, etc. Okay, let me pause for a while. Any questions so far about this emp.data? So here we learned how to create a data frame, okay, consisting of several variables. Any questions, guys? Or again, let me rephrase it. Clear so far? Paki-chat naman, guys, kung yes or no. Clear ba tayo so far? Dun sa example natin ang data frame. Okay, how about the rest? Okay, I'm just getting 5 responses about the other 20 students. Yeah, thank you. Okay, appreciate, guys, your responses. No? Importante sa akin yan para malaman ko kung I'm able to discuss clearly. Kasi kung may mga questions, I'd like to entertain questions. No? Kasi no use, guys, going through the lesson kasi hindi nyo pala naiintindihan yung pag-explain ko. Baka teacher factor, guys. No? Okay, thank you, Mel. Structure, yung STR structure yan, yung structure ng data. So sasabihin sa atin, pag hinanap natin yung structure ng data, una i-define niya kung ano yung class ng data natin, yan, data frame. Ano yung laman niya? 10 observations of 4 variables. Tapos i-identify niya yung mga variables na laman ng data frame natin. So ito ID, i-identify niya kung anong class ng ID na to, yung variable na to, and then ilalagay niya yung example ng laman nun. Okay? So that's what we call the structure of the data. Okay, Neil, thank you for your question. Did that answer your question? Okay, good. Thank you. All right, so let's go to another example. Okay. Example 3. Again, guys, mag-set that seed tayo para pare-pareho tayo. Okay, I'm set that seed 268 na lang. Okay, what do we have here? So we're first creating an object called ID, and then it's a sequence of 1 to 200. Diba? So 200 na observations to. And then si group, guys, si group, let's take a look at group. We're repeating, rep to, no? Si, repeat daw si vehicle. Okay, so this is a character, so type vehicle lang, how many times 100, and then comma, rep again, repeat drug 100 times. So all in all, this will generate 200 observations. Pareho dito sa ID. Because we know, guys, that if we're to generate a data frame, dapat pare-pareho yung length or size ng mga variables natin. Okay, then another variable response. So this is numeric. We're using the R norm. Yung una, 100, na ang mean niya 25, standard deviation 5. The second one is R norm, 100 ulit, mean 23, standard deviation is equal to 5. Okay? All right, so we generate these vectors, okay, and then create an object called my data, okay, and then again, data.frame. Okay, this will create now a data frame, and notice, guys, dito, ang sabi dito, patient is equal to ID. Okay, ibig sabihin yung variable name natin dito sa data frame natin, instead of using ID, we're going to name it patient. And then instead of using the name group, we're going to make it treatment. And then instead of using response small letter R, nagamitin natin yung capital R. Okay. Now, ito na muna i-print na natin, ha. So let's just print yung first set that seed hanggang my data. Okay, sige. Control Enter. Okay, this will be a bit long. All right, let's take a look at our output. Okay, diba first is ID, 1 to 200. Yan, 1 to 200. No? Okay, next is group. Ano naman ni group? Repeat vehicle 100 times. Yan. Repeat nyo sa vehicle, tapos repeat drug 100 times. So 100, sa 100 first element, drug na siya. Okay, up to 200. There you go. So 100 vehicle, 100 drug. So that's for one variable. And then response, okay, first 100 with mean 25 standard deviation 5, and another 100 with a lower mean and standard deviation. So all in all, 200 dito. So notice, guys, yung mga observations natin sa sa second part, 9, 17, mas maliliit na, no? Kasi yung mean nila 23, yung una mas matataas. Kasi ang mean is 25. Okay, so we have generated that, and then this one is your data frame. You have the first variable, the first column, di ba? Instead of ID, ginawa natin patient. Instead of response, ginawa natin treatment. Sorry, ano isa nakalimutan ko. Yung isa naman, small letter R, ginawa natin big letter R. So all in all, my data consists of 200 observations. Yan. And then dito siya sa my data. Here, under the data. 200 observations of 3. Okay, if you check again the structure, my data. Okay, data frame siya. 200 observations. Ito yung mga variables niya. One is integer, so patient. Treatment is character. Response is numerical. Okay. Then, now, guys, we should have the same numbers. And we should have the same observations kasi nag-set that seed tayo. No? So 26.6 dapat, 25.1, etc. So, dito guys, ito, magkakaiba kung if we did not set that seed. Now, since sinet seed natin, we can do the head function, head my data. So what does the head function give us? It gives us the first 6 elements para makita lang natin kung ano yung laman ng my data natin. First 6 elements. Of course, you can make it first 15. Run natin yung my data 15, yung head niya, yan, 15. Then take a look at the first 15 observations. And then yung tail naman, yung last 12 to. Okay, so this is the last 12. And then dimension, guys, parang length lang yan, kaso data frame siya. So ang ibibigay sa atin, ilang rows, ilang columns. 200 rows by 3 columns. Yun naman yung laman ng my data natin. 200 by 3. And then structure, ginawa na natin. Okay, structure. This one. And then summary naman, it will give us a summary statistics. Okay, if the variable is numeric, it will give us the minimum, maximum, first quartile, etc. Okay, of course, hindi common numeric, may meaning na to. Kunyari itong ID na to. Okay, wala namang meaning to kasi we do not attach descriptive statistics to an identifier, yung ID 1 hanggang 200 lang. So walang meaning to. If it's a character variable, guys, of course, hindi pa pwede magkaroon ng descriptive statistics yan. Ang ibibigay lang sa atin yung length. And at least yung response, guys, kasi yung response, di ba, normal distribution to di ba? So ito, yan. Okay, ito. Okay, so the last is summary. Summary, tapos na pala. Okay, now let's go to subsetting the data. Subsetting the data. Ano ibig sabihin ng subsetting the data? Remember that the data frame consists of rows and columns. Okay? So yung rows and columns na yan, class, ma-identify natin yan. Tingnan natin itong my data dito. Here. Di ba ito yung my data natin? You have the first column, patient. You have treatment as the second. And you have response. So if I want to find what's row 4 and column 3, I go to row 4 here. And I go to column 3. So it will be yung response natin, 24.312. That's what we mean by subsetting, which means we'd like to select some specific cells in our data frame. Okay, so example, ito. My data, yung object natin, yung data frame natin, 1, 2 means first row, second column. Okay, so if we run this, obviously, ang first row, second column is the character vehicle. Tingnan natin. First row, ito. Second column, column 1, column 2. Tama, vehicle. Okay? So that's what you mean by my data, brackets, then 1 and 2. First row, second column. Ito naman, second row, third column. And if you run that, second row, third column, 1, 2, 3. So it should be 25.12. Okay. Yeah, 25.12. Okay, and then you can choose multiple rows. Dito, 1 to 20. And then multiple columns, 2 to 3. No? So row 1 to 20, and then column 2 to 3. So dito, hanggang 20, row 1 to 20, and then column 2 to 3. So that will be treatment and response. No? So mawawala yung first column na patient. So let's try to run that. This one. Okay, yan. Right? So you have 20 rows, and then you only include the second and the third column. Hindi kasama yung patient ID. Now, if you don't put anything in either the row or the column, ibig sabihin, include everything. So dito, row 1 to 20, okay, comma, nothing, ibig sabihin include everything. If you run this, yan, hanggang row 1 to 20, and then lahat ng columns, column 1, column 2, column 3. That's what this means. Baliktad naman guys, ito, walang in-identify sa row. Ibig sabihin lahat ng rows and then the third column. Let's see. Okay, lahat ng rows, no? And then only the third column. So all the rows from 1 up to 200 and then the third column, no response lang. So this is it. You only generate this vector of the third column. Okay, that's the same as not putting anything here sa rows and then identifying the variable name, response. Pareho lang yan. Or, diba, I said a while ago, ito yung ano natin, yung data frame, my data, and then dollar, specifically yung response variable. All of this, guys, these three, itong tatlong code na to, pare-pareho yan yung output niya. Okay, pause muna guys. I might be going too fast. Any questions so far? Clear ba so far? So, for and respond. Okay. Sige, yes, Alistair, please, your question. Alistair, you can type your question to everyone. Yeah, to everyone, please. Para makita ng iba. You can unmute yourself.
Sir, gusto ko lang pa i-clarify if tama po ba yung na-interpret ko. First po, sir, gumawa tayo ng mga data by setting objects ID, group, and response.
Okay.
Then we categorize it using the data frame.
We are, kasi ito mga vectors to di ba? Mga independent vectors yan. And then we are joining it and creating a data frame. Okay, and then, what's your question?
So basically, this data frame organizes your data into rows and columns.
Yeah, sabi natin, ang definition of data frame, it's a rectangular array-like object with rows and columns. Tapos di ba may mga characteristic. Number one, dapat yung mga columns natin, dapat may pangalan yun. Kaya nga, ito, yung pinangalan natin dito, patient, is equal to ID. Ibig sabihin kasi, yung ID ito yun diba? Pero pinalitan lang natin yung pangalan, patient. Tapos yung group, actually ito yun. But we gave it a name, treatment. Tapos yung response, yung small r dito, ginawa natin big R. Ito in-illustrate ko lang to show that we can change the name of the column. We could have automatically used patient dito para hindi na tayo maglagay dito ng patient is equal to ID. Okay? But in a nutshell, guys, ang data frame, sabi natin, consists of data arranged in array-like rows and columns. Pero hindi lang basta-basta, dapat yung columns may mga pangalan. Dapat each observation should not be repeated. Ibig sabihin, katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, we were conducting a survey. Tapos we already surveyed number 10. So dapat, hindi na dapat lalabas yun yung dito sa ano natin. Ito natin ito Ito yung row number natin, di ba? 1 hanggang 200. Dapat hindi marirepeat yan. Okay, which is also your ID here. Okay? Is that explanation clear? Okay, thank you, Alistair. Okay, any other questions? Thank you for those questions. Appreciate yung mga questions. Okay, so don't be ashamed, guys, to ask questions. Okay, so andito na tayo, no? Let's go here now. Here, yung subsetting natin. Ito, guys, this one, tapos na tayo dyan, no? Lahat. Pag hindi tayo naglagay ng row or column, ibig sabihin nun, include everything. Okay, ito all the columns. Or ito, kunyari ito, no? My data, walang laman yung rows. Ibig sabihin, lahat ng rows yan kasama. And then the third column. Or we can name it by the name of the variable, or just do my data and then dollar response. Okay, so ito naman guys, subsetting din to. Okay, let's take a look at operations. Close this first. Okay. Here, guys, my data, again, brackets. No? Sabi natin, my data, $sign response. So we're referring to the response column. And it should be greater than 26. So dapat, if we take a look at response, let me go back here. Ito sa my data. I'm going to take a look at this. Yung mga rows ko, ito kasama. Ito hindi. Dapat yung mga greater than 26 lang. Yun lang isasama natin. Okay, so that's how we use subset based on a particular variable. In this case, yung response dapat greater than 26. So if I run this, okay, ito na siya. Nakita natin guys na lahat ng columns kasama, no? Okay, lahat ng columns kasama. That's why we have 3 columns here. Okay, pero dapat daw sa rows dapat greater than 26 lang. Yan. Okay, notice guys, yung mga not greater than 26 hindi kasama because of this. Okay, how about this guys? Next. And is equal to vehicle and my data. Yung treatment daw, vehicle. And yung response dapat less than or equal to 23. What does this mean? Yung and, yung ampersand na to. It means that both conditions have to be met. Dapat vehicle siya and dapat less than 23 siya. Kung vehicle nga siya, tapos greater than 23 siya, hindi pa pwede. Okay? Kung less than 23 siya, pero drug siya, hindi rin pa pwede. Dapat both conditions have to be met. Ito, yung ampersand na ito. So let's run this. Okay. You can see here guys na walang drug. Lahat to vehicle. You can also see that all of this are less than 23. Okay? Wala kang ibang makikita dyan ng value na hindi vehicle kasi because of this, and wala ka rin makikita na response na greater than 23. Okay? How about this, guys? Okay, iba naman to, ibang operator to. Or to, or. So kapag or, guys, at least any of them should be okay. No? Number 1, vehicle. Ito. So ibig sabihin lahat ng vehicle kasama. Bakit? Kasi or lang to eh. Dapat ibig sabihin ng or, ito this should be followed. Also this one should be followed. So ibig sabihin ito basta greater than 21. Kahit na hindi vehicle, okay lang. Basta greater than 21 siya. So let's run this. Okay, first, yung sa vehicle. So in fact guys, if you take a look at this, lahat ng vehicle sinama yung 100. Kasama lahat siya. Okay, tapos, kung ito lang kasi guys, dapat lahat vehicle lang. Pero meron pa tayong or. No? Or. Ibig sabihin, dito papasok si drug na dapat less than or equal to, ito pala, greater than or equal to 21. Yan. So lahat ng mga yan, greater than or equal to 21. Even if nasa drug siya. Kasi ang sinabi natin, ang condition natin, basta lahat ng greater than 21. Same thing here guys. No? How about this one? This one is not equal to. My exclamation point equal to. It means that not equal to. So not equal to or response is equal to 24. So what does this mean? Ito, ibig sabihin ito, lahat ng drug kasama. Kasi lahat na hindi equal to vehicle. So 100 yan, di ba? Magkakaroon pa ba ng vehicle sa natin, sa subset? Yes, kasi basta greater than 4, whether vehicle siya or not vehicle or drug, kasama pa rin siya. So let's run this. So if you take a look at this, guys, so lahat ng drug kasama, no? Kaso may vehicle pa rin kasama. Yung mga vehicle na yan, guys, lahat yan greater than 24. You cannot see any vehicle here that's not greater than 24. Okay? Any questions, guys? Okay, respond naman kung yes or no, please. The others, please. Okay, good. Thank you. Yung iba ba, clear itong pag subset natin? Okay, thank you. Okay, remember guys, ang dati nagsasubset din tayo ng vectors. No? Yung brackets, na ginagamit ito subset. Okay, pero pag guys, pag vector, dapat naka-identify yung rows and columns. Kasi ang data frame pala. Kapag data frame, dapat naka-identify sa pag-subset yung row number at saka yung column number. For row numbers, ibig sabihin pwedeng plural, and column numbers. If you don't put the row number or column number, ibig sabihin nun, blanco lang, tas comma. Ibig sabihin lahat dapat ng row number or column number kasama. Okay, dun sa original natin, yung binigay ko sa inyo, meron to, no? Age, round, nag-R norm tayo. Unfortunately, guys, kasi age yung inaan natin, if you run that, siguro nakikita nyo may -2. Kanina rin namin, may -2 siya. So hindi pa pwede yun kasi ang age, ang age hindi pwede negative. So huwag tayong gagamit ng function, kunyari R norm, o kaya run if, guys. Ang run if, walang negative ang run if. Pero R norm meron kasi kapag normally distributed, di ba, pwede may mga negative values yan. So let's replace it. Let's use this. Okay, let's just use the sample kasi ito siguradong integer to. So age, sample, let's see, kasi employee data to, no? Let's see, 18 to 65 kunyari. No? And then, we have to generate 200. And then, bakit ang ginamit ko, guys, replace is equal to true? What's the reason why I'm not choosing replace is equal to false? If you recall, guys, from discussion natin last Monday, what distinguishes yung replace is equal to false and replace is equal to true? Anyone? You recall, guys? Would like to volunteer to answer that question? Anyone, please? You can either write your answer in the chat box or just raise your hand and mute yourself. Anyone? Okay, Alistair, please, paki-share yung answer mo sa lahat. Okay, thank you. Yeah, you're correct. Thank you, Alistair. That's correct, guys. Kasi mga ages to, di ba? Possible ba na si patient number 90, parehong age na kay patient 100? Yes. Kasi pag ginawa natin itong replace is equal to false, guys, ibig sabihin nun, each one of them will have unique ages. No? Eh, hindi naman pwede yun. Parang highly unlikely naman na sa isang gantong sample na walang magkaparehong age. So this is from 18 to 65. Okay. Hindi pala hindi pala siya patients pala to, hindi siya employee data. Sorry. So pwedeng anyway, nalagay ko na naman 18 to 65, 200 of them replace is equal to true. So if we run this, guys, it will generate an object called age. Okay. Ito yan, no? An object called age, 200 of them. And then, sigurado yan, guys, may mauulit. No? Ito, 47, 47. Okay. So, Because of that, function replace is equal to true. Now, how do we add, guys, a variable in a data frame? Ito lang. So we have this data frame, my data, and then $age, ibig sabihin, I'm including, okay, this column, $age, capital A, and this is yung age na object natin. Di ba ito yung age na object natin? 200 of them. Magkakaiba tayo, guys, ng ages kasi hindi tayo nag-set that seed sa age object natin. Hindi tayo nag-set that seed dito. Okay, and then let's get let's run this both. And you can see now that we have this fourth variable in age. Okay, so that's how you can include in a data frame a variable. Just identify the name of the data frame and then $sign. Okay, so that concludes, guys, our discussion on data frames. Any questions about data frames, guys? Ang karamihan data na gagamitin natin, ito, data frame. Because it's convenient to work in a data frame, especially if you have several variables. Okay, no questions? Okay, punta na tayo sa another important object, date. No? Date object. Now in R, okay, before we do that, let's create this object X, and it's we're concatenating this. Now, without running this, ano kaya ang anong class ng object ng X? Anyone without running this? Anyone? Without running it? Obviously, guys, it will be folks, diba? So character yan. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Alistair. Thank you, Justin. Sorry, hindi ko nakita yung answers. So Alistair and Justin are correct. Kasi naka-coach yan, so character to. But in this case, we don't want it to be characters. We want it to be treated like dates. So there are several packages in R that we can use. First, kindly check if you have installed. Check nyo nga, guys, sa packages kung andyan na si tidyverse. So punta kayo sa packages and then type nyo tidyverse and try to see if it's reflected there. Paki-chat nga please kung naka-reflect na si tidyverse na package. Okay, thank you, Nick. How about the rest, guys? Okay, good. Okay, kung hindi pa, ibig sabihin, hindi nyo pa na-install yan. Okay, so how do you install, guys? Ito, di ba? Install that packages dito. Install that packages. Okay, for those of you who haven't installed this, do this now. Tidyverse. Okay, one of the most important packages in data science is tidyverse. Kasi it's actually a family of packages. Hindi lang siya isang. Okay, hindi ko na i-run yan kasi na-install ko na. No? Okay, and then once you're done, guys, paki-library. Tidyverse. Okay, so pagka-install, guys, require natin. Okay, and you can tidyverse na natin. Ano yung mga laman? Underscore tidyverse underscore packages. There. Yeah. Tidyverse underscore packages. Okay, so tidyverse is not only one package. It consists of several packages. Diyan si Broom, no? Si dplyr, forecast, very important packages in data science. ggplot2, okay, magritar for yung piping, okay, etc. Okay, one of the objects here, one of the packages here is lubricate. Okay, but anyway, guys, let's still require lubricate. Paki-library yung lubricate. Lubricate. Okay, sorry. Question mark talaga ako. Then the ever helpful help function, guys. Make it a habit to go to the help function. Oops. Okay, ayaw niyo mag some question mark. Ito, guys, no? Lubricate. So this is from the lubricate package. Okay, and then you have here several examples. Provides tools that make it easier to parse or to work on and manipulate dates. Kasi guys, admittedly, one of the most difficult data to work with is dates. Kasi maraming nuances. So there are several packages that we can work with. Some of you, I don't know if it's in this class, some of you are using quant mode package in getting data. So the quant mode package, which we can use in order to download data from Yahoo Finance. Ang ginagamit ng guys, XTS object, XTS. Yeah, so this is also another type of package that's good for extensible time series. This is good for creating packages, not packages, but working with dates. Okay, but we'll not go into that now. All right, so gagamitin natin guys si lubricate to work with the dates. No? So first we have the MDY function. Okay, anong gamit ni MDY? MDY. Okay, as you know, this is coming from lubricate, no? Lubricate package. Tapos yan, may mga MDY, may mga functionalities tayo. Okay, and then you might have here an example. So let's do this, guys. Let's work on this. All right. So we'll create an object called isa may X natin. Okay, di ba may X na tayo, no? We run this already. We run this already. You have this object X. And then, ang laman niya, looks like dates ka, so naka-quote siya. So it's a class. It's a character. Character siya. And we don't want that. Ang gusto natin, date siya. Okay, so we can use this x.date and then MDY. Okay, linagay ko lang to guys kasi sometimes you'll see this. Sometimes you call this the namesake, no? Ibig sabihin kung saan galing yung MDY function nito. So since the MDY function is coming from lubricate package, we can use that and then call on MDY. This is helpful specifically, particularly if you want to know where a particular function is coming from, kung saan package yan ang galing. Alright, so of course you can delete this. It will work still kahit wala yan. But sometimes I do this, especially pag bago ko alam na function, para malaman ko na itong functionality na ito nanggaling sa ganitong package. Alright, so let's create an object called x.date and then illubricate natin si x. Ibig sabihin, we will convert it using MDY. Okay, MDY siya. So let's run this. Okay, so we now have x.date here. Yan, di ba? X.date. So it's a date. It's a date. Tapos, ano laman niya? So x.date. Okay, ito naman ni x.date. I'll just look at it in the console. Okay, ito yung function natin. So this is, although naka-quotes pa rin siya, guys, pero nung tinanong natin, class ng xDate, hindi na siya character. It's already a date. Date na siya. Okay, there are other functionalities. Kunyari, let's create this object, BDY, birthday, and then we're using the DMY, date, month, year. So dapat, kung paglagay nyo ng data dito, date, month, year. Day, month, year. Okay, it's not date. Day, month, year. So this is October 14, 1979. Okay, so let's run this. Print natin si ano? Si birthday. Print. Tama, October 14, 1979. When you ask are particularly those functions coming from date to print a date, you'll notice that it always starts with the year, tapos month, tapos day. Yun ang default niya. Okay. Even if you use DMY, pag print niya, it's always the year, the month, and the day. Okay? So, tingnan natin to. We can use the function month. Month ng birthday, we know that this should be October. No? Yeah, October yung month. And then also, another function, weekday. Weekday ng birthday, label is equal to true. There. So, the weekday of that date, October 14, 1979, that's a Sunday. Sunday siya. Okay? And then you can also ask the, itong year. No? Year ng B-Day, 2016. Pero alam natin na 20, ano yun eh, di ba? 1979. But this is one way you can replace yung element ng isang data, B-Day. Originally, 1979 yan. Nasa values, di ba yan? 1979, October 14. But we can replace the year. Okay. Year ng birthday, 2016. Okay, so tingnan natin. Ang weekday ni birthday. Weekday ni birthday, a Friday na. Kanina Sunday. Ibig sabihin, magkaiba talaga. And some more date functions. Okay, ito, YMD, year, month, date. So dapat pag sinulat niyan, yung year, yung month, tsaka yung day. Walang spaces. Okay, and then we call it an object called Y1. And then, ano ba yung class ng Y1? So nga, print natin. Okay, so this is Y1. 12/15, 2010. And then, what's the class? It's a date. So kahit na yung sinulat natin, parang ano siya, parang numeric. And yet, we use the Y and D, the year, the month, the day. So it was converted into, it became this object which is, technically, kung yan lang titignan natin, it's a numerical variable. No? Okay. So, YDM guys, year, date, month. No? So we want this converted, kasi ano to, kung titignan nyo to guys, this is a character. No? So may quote siya, if you want this change to year, date, month, okay, run. 2015. Note again, in default ni R, pag nag-print siya, the year, the month, and the day. Okay, MDY guys, and then HMS will give us the hours and the minutes. And then yung now guys, it's again the year, the month, the day, and then the time. 12:08:48, which is our time. In CST is a time zone. Nakalimutan ko yung meaning, central something, but let's not go there first. Okay, next. Any questions guys sa dates? Chat naman please. Kung clear yung dates na discussion natin. Okay, so far 3, thank you. 3 responded. How about the rest, guys? Okay, thank you. Though hindi pa rin ako nakakuha ng maraming responses from your end. Okay, next, matrix. Okay, may I have your response, guys? Who among you have had a lesson on matrix algebra? Matrix addition, matrix subtraction, matrix multiplication, either in high school or maybe for some of you, elementary pa lang, up to college. Pakichat naman please kung may background kayo about matrix, which is just an array of numbers taken together. I'm not asking you guys kung expert kayo sa matrix, ha? I'm asking if you have encountered this, yung concept ng matrix. I hope 100% response. I'm not asking you guys to alam niyo sa art, no. What I'm asking you is your basic knowledge of matrix. Okay, wala pang response. Guys, I'm sure may high school kayo niyan, may high school subject kayo, algebra, na you discuss matrices, or even in college now. Okay, wala bang sasagot, please? I just want a yes or no from you para alam ko, guys, kung what's your base knowledge about matrices? Meron ba? May subject ba kayo na na-discussion? No? Sure kayo, guys? Wala kayong matrix na na-discuss? How about the rest? Okay. Meron yes. Okay. Kasi guys, we will not really go into this much. Gusto lang natin yung mga general knowledge on matrices. We will not go into for example, yung manual computation ng matrix multiplication kasi mahaba discussion. But be that as it may, guys, do some watching of videos on the basics of matrix algebra. Para mas medyo itindihan nito. Kasi yung subject to guys, hindi naman talaga, it's not really linear algebra. Hindi naman natin pag-aaralan talaga lahat ng matrix algebra. It's just in the light of using it in an R environment. Okay, so let's go into this. So the function to create a matrix is matrix. And then you have the data, number of rows, number of columns, and then by row. Okay, so that's the default function. Okay, so here we have an object called A. So it's a matrix 2, 3, -2, 1, 2, 2. Okay, and then close natin. And then 3 refers to the number of rows, the n row. And then 2 refers to the number of columns. So you will have a matrix, a 3 by 2 matrix. So matrix, guys, ang una natin sinasabi yung number of rows. And then the number of columns. Okay, so let's first run this. Let's run this. Yung una. Okay. So take a look at this matrix. Diba? A matrix is an array of numbers. Ayan. And the size of the matrix is ilang rows? 3 rows, ilang columns? 2 columns. So it's called a 3 by 2 matrix. Now, paano pinapulate ni R yung matrix? Kasi elements natin 2, 3, -2, 1, 2, 2. Again, guys, how do we know it's 3 by 2? Nakalagay dito. Number of rows and number of columns. Okay, notice paano pinapulate ni 2, 3, -2. So saan niya inuna? Sa column or sa row? Inuna niya sa column. Pababa yung pag-reflect na. 2, 3, negative 2, 2, 3, negative 2, and then 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. So this is your matrix, guys. Again, guys, ang default, by column, pinasok ni R. Okay, of course, you have to identify ilan yung number of rows and number of columns. Sabi natin dito, 3 by 2. Okay, now if you want it, if you want the data to be written row-wise, ilalagay nyo to. By row is equal to 2. Kasi pag wala yan, guys, automatically yan, by column yung pag-indicate ni, pag-input ni R ng values. So control enter. Yeah. You can see now that the data was placed by row. Diba? 2, 3. Negative 2, 1, 2, 2. Okay, so that's how we, yun ang ginawa ni, ni R. Kasi linagyan natin by row is equal to 2. If we don't write it here, the default will be by column. Okay, so let's ask, is that matrix A? The answer is true. Matrix A. Is A a vector? Alam natin na hindi vector yan. Iba yung vector, false siya. And then dimension A, we know that's 3 by 2. Tatlong rows and dalawang columns. Okay, pause muna ako, guys. Any questions?
Sir,
Yes?
okay lang po ba sa attendance?
Mamaya na. Kasi nag-lesson pa tayo. Mamaya, at the end of the ano. Okay.
Thank you.
Multiplication by scalar, guys, no? Kasi pupunta pa ako dun sa ano, it's a waste of time. Mamaya na at the end of the ano. So bubuksan ko pa ulit yung ano, yung ano natin, yung canvas natin. Okay, here we have C, no? C, well, it's a vector of 1, 3. So pwede ba natin i-multiply si C, which is 3 kay A? Yes, pwede yan. So i-run natin to. Okay, see what happened, guys? Nagkaroon, we call this a scalar multiplication. Okay, we multiply na lahat ng elements ng matrix A by 3. So ganun lang kasimple yan. Okay, and then addition ng matrix. Okay, so simple lang, guys, yung addition ng matrix. Two matrices, you can add two matrices if they have the same size. Dapat 3 by 2 din. So let's create this matrix B. 1, 4, negative 2. So ang arrangement yan, pababa. 1, 4, negative 2, 1, 2, 1. Kasi yun ang default. Hindi natin linagay by row is equal to 2. Okay, run muna natin to. Okay, so this is your matrix B. Matrix B to 1, 4, negative 2. Take note, guys, pababa yung pababa yung pag-populate ni R. And then we can now create a matrix C by adding A and B, or a matrix D by A minus B. Pwede yan. Let me run this. So this is matrix C, which is, you just added two matrices. Okay, so pwede yun kasi same size sila. Okay, so I will not anymore prove that, guys. That's very easy. Tapos ganun din A minus B. So from matrix A, ma-minus mo yung elements ng matrix B. Prepare mo, no? First element, first row, first column, i-prepare mo din sa isa. Okay, any questions, guys, about simple addition, simple scalar multiplication? Questions? Or clear ba so far? Pakichat mo please kung clear. Okay, good. All right, then we go to matrix multiplication. From your linear algebra, you learned that two matrices can only be multiplied, okay, if it follows this rule. So ang rule, ito, di ba, row, column to, di ba? Row by column, ito, column by row. Parang ganito, no? Si matrix, ito ko ilalagay. Si matrix E, ang dimension niya, 3, by 2. Okay, and then si matrix F, ang dimension niya 2 by 3. Ito natin makikita yan. No? So when are two matrices multiplicable? No? Ang dalawang matrix is multiplicable if the column of the first matrix is the same as the row of the second matrix. Yan. Sa side by side ko siya. 2 by 3. If you take a look at this, guys, ito si matrix E, 3 by 2. Si matrix F, 2 by 3. So pwede ba siya ma-multiply? Yes. Kasi the column of the first matrix is the same as the row of the second matrix. Okay? Which means, guys, that walang matrix multiplication commutativity. So hindi pa pwedeng okay, so what if I do F times E? So F is 2 times 3. Tapos si E is 3 times 2. So pwede pa rin ba ma-multiply yan? Yes, no? Yes, kasi yung column ng first matrix is the same as the row of the second matrix. So ang resulting size nito, guys, 2 by 2, 2. Ang resulting size niya is 3 by 3. Yan, 3 by 3. Ito naman, yung F times E, although pwede siyang i-multiply, pero different yung size niya. 2 by 2. Okay? So, the commutativity principle in matrix multiplication does not work. Di ba sa basic algebra, yung commutativity principle, it works. 3 plus 7 is equal to 7 plus 3. 3 times 7 is equal to 7 times 3. Yun ang commutativity principle. Sa matrices, kunyari ito 3 by 6. Tapos ito 7 by 3. Yan. Okay, may question. Christian, paki-share yung question mo sa class. Okay, thank you. Okay, good. Thank you, Christian, for the question. Now, maraming uses ang matrix. No? It's generally used sa sciences, sa physics, sa chemistry, of course, algebra, no? And also in economics and in finance. Okay, bakit? Kunyari, yung regression, guys. Yung regression, it's easy to compute regression because of matrix operations. So I'm going to illustrate that when we start discussing linear regression, na ang dali-daling i-manipulate yung regression equation natin if we're using matrices as against kung kung regular na arithmetic lang. So that's one purpose of matrix. No? It facilitates the computation. Okay? It facilitates the computation. So we'll have examples of that lang, Christian, when we start with the regression. Okay. Now take a look at this. If this is matrix 1 and this is matrix 2, diba, 1 times 2 hindi pa pwede. Okay? So si 1 times 2 hindi pa pwedeng i-multiply kasi yung column ng first matrix is not the same as the row of the second matrix. So hindi pa pwede ito, no? 1 times 2 is not possible. But what about 2 times 1? So ulitin ko ito ha, Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V. Ito naman matrix 2 times matrix 1. Are they multiplicable? Yes. Bakit siya multiplicable? Kasi pareho yung column ng first matrix to the row of the second matrix. And the resulting matrix is 7 by 6. Ang resultant matrix 7 by 6. How do I know, guys? Ito 7 by 6. Okay? Ito naman multiplicable to? Yes. Ang resultant matrix is 3 by 3. Then ito, binaliktad natin, no? 3 by 3 pwede. Ang resultant matrix 2 by 2. So in a sense, kahit na dito pwede i-multiply sa E by F at saka F by E, yet the results are different. Kasi ito 3 by 3 yung result, ito 2 by 2. Okay, so that's just a quick review of your matrix algebra, matrix multiplication. Okay, so let's generate matrix E and matrix F. Natin, ha? Okay, so ito si E, di ba? This is E. Okay, it's 3 by 2. Tapos si matrix F, 2 by 3. Are they multiplicable? Yes. 3 by 2 multiplied by 2 by 3. Ano magiging result na matrix? Ito, no? The resultant matrix is a 3 by 3 matrix. Ito. Ito. Si E, 3 by 2. Si F, 2 by 3. Multiplicable, yes. Pareho yung column ni first at saka row ni second. And the resulting matrix is 3 by 3. Okay, let's do that here, guys. Unahin muna natin itong inuna ko kasi E by F. No? So how do we generate this matrix? How do we run this? Let's call this matrix H. No? Matrix H, E by F. So yung matrix multiplication, guys, ang symbol niyan is percentage asterisk percentage. Okay, so that's multiplying matrix E by matrix F. Alam natin, guys, na pwede siya and the resulting size is 3 by 3. So let's run this. Yeah. Yan nyo, guys. It's a 3 by 3 matrix. Yung E times F, which is matrix H dito. Now, si F times E, pwede ba? Di ba, nasagot natin yan? F times E is yes, it's multiplicable. Kasi 2 by 3 and then 3 by 2, pwede yan kasi pareho yung column ng first matrix at saka row ng second matrix. So pwede siya. But the resulting size is 2 by 2. So magkaiba yun. Unlike multiplication, na yung commutative principle will give the same answer. Sa matrix, hindi. Pwede nga yung reverse, pwede hindi multiplicable. Katulad ditong example natin dito. Okay, so let's generate G. Control Enter. Ayan, tingnan nyo, guys. 2 by 2 yung answer. Okay, so that's 2 by 2. Okay, let's take a look at this naman. So, 2, 1, 3, 1 row, 3 columns. Tingnan natin. Okay, so 1 row, 3 columns. Yan, 1 row, 3 columns. Now let's generate a vector K. Asan na si J natin? Wala si J. Ito pala. Okay, so that's J. Tapos, i-multiply natin si J times A, guys. Asan ba si matrix A natin? This is A, no? A is, ito si A. Where's A? Ito, guys, yun nyo, no? Take note, guys, si matrix, no? Saan siya lumalabas? Sa values o sa data? Okay, dito siya sa ano, sa data. It's 1, 2, 3. Ibig sabihin yung rows natin 3, columns 2. If I click this, ito yung matrix natin, no? Matrix A. So si matrix A is ano siya? 3 by 2. So A is 3 by 2. Tapos si J, ano si J? 1 by 3. Okay, multiplicable ba yan, guys? No. No. A times J is not multiplicable. No? But J times A, pwede ba? 3 times 2. Ayan. Ito, A times J, hindi pa pwede kasi 2 and 1, hindi siya same. Pero J times A. J times A, 3 by 3, tama. Pareho. Ang resultant matrix is 1 by 2. So pwede si JA, hindi pwede si AJ. Okay, so very specific, very strict yung matrix multiplication. Okay, let's run that. Have a few, last minute ko na lang. Okay, so ito, no? So let's try J times A. Pwede ba to? J times A, yes, guys. Pumedi siya, no? 1 by 2 yung answer. 1 row, 2 columns. How about ano, A times J? Multiplicable ba to? Hindi. No? Hindi kasi nagko-conform yung row and column rule. Okay? So I hope that's clear, guys. It's almost time. Ito, makikiusap ako kung pwede an extension of 2 to 3 minutes, guys. Okay lang ba? At least aware na ako na 12 to 12:30 na. May I have, guys, 2 to 3 minutes just to go through this very quickly? Okay, thank you, guys. Okay. All right, transpose, guys, of a matrix. Okay, yung function ng transpose is T, no? So here I'm creating an object called AT, which is the transpose of A. I-generate natin to. Okay, ano to? Guys, si A, kanina si A, 2, 3, negative 2, pababa, 1, 2, 2. So the transpose of A is the opposite, no? Parang flip natin yung ano, flip natin yung lagay mo natin dito. Pakita ko. Print natin si A. Okay, print natin itong dalawang to. Bye-bye. Oops, sorry. Okay. Okay. Yan si A. Hindi na-print pa rin. Yan. Okay. Mali lang yung pag-print. Alright. Take a look at this, guys. This is A. 2, 3, negative 2. Ano nangyari kay A transpose? Nabaliktad niya. Yung column natin, naging row na. So that's what happens when you transpose a matrix. Okay, there are some special matrices, no? Okay, unit vector, ano ibig sabihin ito? I-print natin. Si unit vector, yan, guys. Lahat 1. Okay, di ba, ano to? Matrix, 1, 3 rows, 1 column. So tatlong rows siya, tapos isang column, object 1 lang. So that's what we call a unit vector. So meron din tayong zero vector naman, lahat 0. So 3 rows, 1 column, enter, 0, 0 lang lahat. Okay, ito naman, unit matrix, ano to? 1, tapos 3 by 2. So lahat yan 1. Yan. 3 rows by 2 columns, isa lang laman, 1. And you also have ito din 0 matrix, 0 lahat, 3 by 2. Okay, diagonal matrix naman, guys. So ito yung object natin, ano? Ito yung matrix natin, 3 by 3 siya. Okay, S yun. And then we're creating an object W, which is the diagonal of S. Okay, so let's run this first two. Ito muna. Okay, so you have the first matrix S. And then what is the diagonal of ano? What is the diagonal of S? 2, 2, 3. Yan lang, guys, no? Yan ang diagonal. So we ask kung ano ba yung diagonal ni S? 2, 2, 3. And then W1, diagonal of the diagonal of S, ano to? Okay. Bumalik siya. No? Okay. Ang ginawa dito, diagonal, okay, ng diagonal ni S, ginawang diagonal yung 2, 2, 3, and then the rest are 0. Okay, so let me pause here, guys. Okay, last na to. Diagonal matrix. Okay, this is what we call an identity matrix. Lahat ng diagonals 1, the rest are 0. Okay, I leave you guys to look at this. Please pay particular attention to the inverse of a matrix and the determinant of a matrix. Tapos, paki-aral ng konti kung anong ginagawa niya. No? Konting, ano lang naman, konting lines na lang. I'm sure you'll be able to kung may questions kayo dito, please feel free to PM me, or maybe mag-aano na lang ako ng extra small video, a few minutes lang yon, discussing the remaining parts of this lesson. Okay, and then kindly work on this exercise. All right. So, thank you so much, guys. Paki-chat na lang please kung sino yung or let me stop recording na.